Chief Jim Boucher was born and raised in the First Nations community of Fort McKay, Alberta.
When I was younger, there was completely pristine land in the sense that there was no development going on. People made a living off of land, were hunters and trappers. So it was beautiful way to live.
Jim would learn to face challenges to his culture and heritage early on. At the age of 13, he was separated from his home 1 year before the abolishment of the residential school system in Canada.
We're standing there at the train tracks, and my mom says, "Don't cry." So we got on the train and we left. And then all of us started crying after we left our mother. And that was the last time we saw our mother. She passed away after that because of a broken heart.
Returning home, Jim lived with his grandparents.
You learn to live off the land. We have resources in this world. All we need to have is the ability and the know-how to make it work.
When I think of Chief Boucher, one of the first words that comes to my mind is an entrepreneur. And that spirit is so strong in his community, and I really truly believe that he's the reason behind that.
To support himself and his grandparents, Jim began working construction in Edmonton. Returning to Fort McKay a few years later, there was noticeable apprehension towards growing industrial development around their community.
In 1982, a fur ban was imposed, which essentially shut down our economy. Overnight, we faced a poverty situation where we had no income and no economy. So the elders decided at that point in time that we needed to change the way we work with industry.
He talks about the moment the elders came to him in his early 20s and asked him to run for leadership. I think that's pretty unique, and it speaks about the trust the people had in him as a person. They saw something in him that they felt would lead their community out of the situation they were in.
In 1986, Jim Boucher was elected chief of the Fort McKay First Nation. In his first year, they founded the Fort McKay Group of Companies.
And it started very small. It started on one janitorial contract and another mailroom delivery contract.
My grandfather taught me to be patient, to be observant, and also to have the ability to anticipate.
On the business side, he has this great ability to think from the future.
Time goes on, and it's just a matter of working every day. And next thing you know, more opportunities come in.
And it's grown today to be one of the most successful First Nation enterprises across North America.
We went from 6 million in 1996. In 2005, we did something like 500 million. And we were able to do that because we developed good relationships with the industry folks.
And he also has always seen the balance between the two.
To ensure they would always put the well-being of their community first, the Fort McKay First Nations incorporated a policy of consensus government.
We're trying to find agreement on an issue, not by majority rule, but by discussion.
This included the environmental protection and preservation of Moose Lake, an area sacred to the First Nations community of Fort McKay.
They gave our people independence. And out of that independence came this attitude that we can control our future. We can control what's happening with our people.
Chief Boucher made certain that their newfound economic prosperity would always go back to his people in the way of development, charity, and educational opportunities.
He's always been a very giving leader.
I grew up where people were helping each other. That to me is what our community is all about.
This included raising funds for healthcare through the Northern Lights Health Foundation. Chief Boucher continues to give back today through his own charitable organization.
Chief Boucher has established what's called the Sage Roots Foundation. It's how he carries on that legacy of giving back through the profits of his companies.
Being a fierce advocate for education, Chief Boucher and the Fort McKay First Nations established a policy which would pay 100% of the tuition costs for First Nation students pursuing post-secondary education.
And so we have a large number of our young people now graduating from universities.
He built a foundation. When I go to Australia, when I go to South America, where Indigenous communities are just starting to fight the same battles that Jim had to fight, it is Fort McKay and Chief Boucher that they talk about. And that is the model that he leaves Canada with.
Today, Chief Boucher is the president and chairman of the Saw-Dene Group of Companies, a collective organization which continues his work in the economic development of First Nations communities in a globalized economy.
One of the great lessons you learn when working with the First Nation community and their leadership style is they think about the long term, they don't think of the short term.
What I really enjoy doing most is spending time with my grandchildren.
He is a papa first and foremost, and so to watch him around his children and his grandchildren, it's a different Jim.
That's what makes the whole world go around these days. They're so beautiful, and I love them so much.
Please welcome Chief Jim Boucher, 2023 inductee as companion to the Order of the Canadian Business Hall of Fame.